Guys, we are down to only 7 games remaining in this NFL season, but before we start missing football before it's even gone, we've got another weekend of quality matchups on Saturday and Sunday. And if that's not enough for you, we've got the College Football National Championship with this year's first overall pick against next year's first overall pick taking place on Monday following this weekend. This is arguably the best weekend of quality football all year long. Last week, I made some kinda bold picks, or at least the comment section made me temporarily think I might be crazy for them. And then I went 3-1 in one of the wildest wild card weekends that I can remember, and just an amazing week for the unofficial Patriots haters fan club, or at least anybody picking games not named Mike Greenberg. Going 3-1 was kind of awesome, but that one loss was from a team that I thought could be primed to make a deep run to the Super Bowl. I should have known better than to trust Drew Brees and those tiny hands of his. In this video, I will go over my picks for the divisional round and redo my full playoff bracket predictions because of the Saints, you know, my Super Bowl representative from the NFC. They thought that they were going to win a playoff game with Taysom Hill as the centerpiece of their offense. Honestly, let's touch on that game real quick. That was a game that it really did feel like the last team to screw up would end up losing. The Vikings and Kirk Cousins, they silenced some of their demons against a Saints team that was a really popular choice to come out of the NFC this year, and to go out like that is just, it's really sad. I tried to give the Saints the respect that they deserved for that regular season, but I did warn you guys about that one-dimensional passing game being just too easy to defend in a playoff atmosphere. But the Saints just feel like a cursed organization. I don't know, it's probably all that voodoo magic they do down there in New Orleans, and it's pretty wild that Tom Brady and Drew Brees, after breaking all these records all year long, ended up going out like that. I guess Father Time truly is undefeated. Also, I want to clarify on a mistake that I made in my full playoff prediction video, that the last wild card team to win the Super Bowl was the 2010 Packers. I'm not sure where I heard that. It was somewhere on Twitter, but I should have fact checked, or I just regurgitated the stat incorrectly. The real stat involving the 2010 Packers is that no team has won 3 games to win the Super Bowl since then. Appreciate you guys reminding me of the 2011 and 2012 Giants and Ravens teams. Those teams were division winners that hosted at least one playoff game. So basically, it's going to be a long road for the Titans, Seahawks, and Vikings, who've all got their work cut out for them in their quest to make it to the Super Bowl with 3 straight road games. Before we get started, I want to remind you guys that the goal on all of these pick'em videos is 500 likes. Last week, you guys absolutely smashed it. This week, let's see if we can hit 500 in less than 24 hours. And if you're new to the channel and you don't determine a person's intelligence level by the teams that they pick to win a football game, then go ahead and hit that subscribe button, because I would love to have you along for this NFL journey. And hopefully together, we can make this NFL offseason not feel like an eternity. Let's get started with the 2020 divisional round. On Saturday at 4:35 p.m. we've got Vikings at 49ers. So Kirk Cousins got the monkey off his back, right? That technically wasn't a night game, and even the blind squirrel gets a nut once in a while. Cousins was still cowering to the early pressure the Saints defense was getting on him, and I would give most of the credit to the Vikings defense for completely shutting down everyone on the Saints offense not named Taysom Hill. And yeah, Kirk gets credit for the clutch reads and executing the throws in overtime to win the game. Maybe a little assist from the refs, and him showing that he was able to do it, the game on the line, was a step in the right direction for him. And I personally think that you can develop a killer instinct. If you're not born with it, it'll never be on the assassin level of Tom Brady or Kobe Bryant, but the more you do it, the easier it gets each time. In the NFL playoffs, the better coach and quarterback combo is usually the best bet to win, and that's what happened in New Orleans. Drew Brees was not as good as Kirk Cousins, and Sean Payton got bested by his former co-worker or co-coach, co-coordinator, I don't know what you call it, but Mike Zimmer called his shot and followed through with it. My concerns with the Vikings this week is that they may have peaked last week and now will run into a fresh, healthier version of the 49ers defense that is going to be really hyped up for their first playoff game, and I think that Cousins is going to get smacked in the face by their pass rush. But at the same time, I think that the 49ers have damn near the exact same concerns on offense. This Vikings defense is no joke, especially when Xavier Rhodes isn't getting exposed, and their defensive line could take advantage of the 49ers offensive line just like they did last week against one of the best offensive lines in the league. Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't have any playoff experience yet, and he's been pretty up and down in clutch moments. The 49ers have won more despite him rather than because of him this year. Kyle Shanahan is the real driving force behind the 49ers offensive efficiency. The old Shanahan family running game has been really underrated aspect of the 49ers success this year, and I fully expect Kyle to have an effective game plan for the Vikings defense, and they will probably jump out to a quick lead, which plays right into the strength of the defense. It's going to be on Jimmy G G in the end to make sure that they keep that lead. The running game should get them in manageable 3rd and shorts, and he's just got to be able to convert them. Now, nobody needed that win in New Orleans more than Kirk Cousins, and now I think that the Vikings will be able to go into 2020 without worrying if there's a better option for them at quarterback, and just load up for a Super Bowl run with the cap space that they're going to end up getting from cutting Xavier Rhodes. But the 49ers are going to be the better team on Saturday afternoon, and I could see them winning 27-20. On Saturday night at 8:15 p.m., we've got Titans versus Ravens, the 1 seed facing the 6th seed. This should be easy, right? Honestly, I don't think it will be. The Ravens' first choice for who they would have played probably would have been the Bills, but after they blew a 16-0 lead, they find themselves matched up against a really hard-nosed rushing attack that just bullied the Patriots last week off the line of scrimmage. I honestly think this Titans team is a terrifying matchup for the Ravens. Derrick Henry is going to make himself stupid running back money this offseason, and he 100% deserves it. The Ravens' run defense is much better than the Patriots, and after the week off, I guess 2 weeks if you really count the week 17 scrimmage against the Steelers as a week off, it's going to be tough to take that long of a break for the Ravens to then jump straight into revving up the juices and staring down a 250-pound beast just charging at you. So look for Derrick Henry to set the tone early and often. But I think that the bye week pays off down the stretch for the Ravens, while the adrenaline of the Patriots win gradually wears off for the Titans, and their energy level is going to drop after the first half. Because Derrick Henry put the whole team on his back with over 30 carries, and his workload from this season is going to catch up to him eventually. If the Titans are going to win after 60 minutes, Ryan Tannehill is going to need to move the ball against this really good veteran secondary. Both of these offensive needed production in the passing game from a rookie wide receiver, and I think that this could be the eventual demise of both of these teams in the playoffs. But Lamar Jackson did not have an MVP caliber season like that just to go out in his first playoff game. Ravens win 31-21. On Sunday afternoon at 3 p.m., we have got Texans versus Chiefs. Now, Bill O'Brien was 30 minutes away from needing to be fired, and he can thank the reckless play of both of the quarterbacks in that wildcard game for why he lives to coach another day. If not for Josh Allen trying to do crazy backyard football stuff that doesn't work out, and then his own quarterback refusing to get tackled even though he got sandwiched between 2 defenders, there's no way that the Texans come back after they let the Bills get off to a 16-0 lead on them. Now, the reasons for that 16-0 hole that they fell into is because the Bills came out with nothing to lose. They knew that they were outmatched offensively and came out with everything they had on the first drive to set the tone, and it worked. Whereas Bill O'Brien came out with the old tight butthole play calling, he was just too uptight, and the play calling has been terrible. I mean, you know that Deshaun Watson's going to hold the ball for too long, yet you put him in these play calls that doesn't have him on the move early and getting the ball out quickly. Let's just say you cannot spot the Chiefs 16 points and expect to win the game. Now, I know that the Texans, in this same scenario at Arrowhead, they beat the Chiefs earlier this season, but Tyreek Hill and Patrick Mahomes were not healthy in that matchup, and the Chiefs defense wasn't quite gelling like they were in the back half of the season. I mean, can we even admire, first of all, how amazing it is that Patrick Mahomes is even playing in this game right now? I mean, his midseason injury should have ended his season, and the dude only missed a few games. This truly would be a complete owning of the Madden curse if he in fact gets to the Super Bowl and wins the whole thing. For the Texans to win this, they're going to need to be able to establish a ball control offense and grind out yardage with Carlos Hyde. The Bills defense was too good to establish the running game, so I don't know why they felt like they were going to anyways. And hey, maybe this can be a revenge game for Carlos Hyde. I mean, he did play in Kansas City for like 5 minutes, but I still don't see that being a reliable game plan for the Texans to execute consistently. I really hope that Will Fuller can play in this game, and then we can just let these two offenses throw everything they've got out. Let's have an all-out air raid passing attack from both teams with the score ending up in the 40s. That would be my ideal way to kick off Sunday, because I don't see the later game being quite the offensive juggernaut that this one could be. My X factor in this game, or at least for the Chiefs, is going to be LaShawn McCoy. I had him on a ton of fantasy teams this year, and I saw at a painfully close level how much Andy Reid phased him out of the game plan for the last month of the regular season to rest him up for the playoffs. McCoy came here for a championship run, and it starts here. In the end, I think that the Chiefs win this one 38-35. And then finally on Sunday night at 6:40 p.m., we've got Seahawks at Packers. Back in the old days of the Legion of Boom, this matchup was kind of an unofficial out-of-division rivalry in the NFL. There were some really good games with some really sort of iconic plays. The Seahawks are 8-1 on the road this year, but they probably would have preferred a breezy San Fran to playing against this dynamic pass-rushing duo at night in the frozen tundra that is Lambeau Field. Mind you, a place where the Seahawks have lost 8 games in a row. And keep in mind, it's early in the week and forecasts can change, but the weather is calling for for a snowy night in Green Bay on Sunday. Isn't that just perfect? In this game though, the Seahawks offensive line is probably my biggest concern for either team, and Russell Wilson has had some real poor performances against the Packers in the past, but don't let the weather and the Packers home field advantage sell you on the Packers as the clear winners in this one. The Packers defense has been good. No, they've been great at getting after the passer, but they've been really susceptible to the running game. The Seahawks were running into a brick wall against the Eagles, but this has to be the game where Marshawn Lynch finally gets his legs underneath him, gets in game shape, and just enforces his will to take the pressure off these Seahawks offensive tackles in the passing game. You can't win playoff games relying on a rookie wide receiver to do what DK Metcalf did against the Eagles. Everybody always asks in the comments why I'm so high on the Seahawks, and you can go and check the channel. I don't do scouting reports very often because I am so in depth with them that they just take forever, but I did one on DK Metcalf last year because he truly is one of my favorite players to come into the league in the last few years, and I think that while the Megatrons and Julio Jones are a dying breed at the wide receiver position, I'd look at DK Metcalf in that same category, and I don't know how he was allowed to fall that far in the draft to the Seahawks, but he literally fell to the best place possible. And maybe I'm overrating Russell Wilson and DK being able to connect down the road like that because he is in fact still just a rookie wide receiver, but I'll tell you what, I'm probably going to come into 2020 thinking that the Seahawks somehow get it done because they have the next big thing at wide receiver. But like I said, I don't see this being the week for him to recreate that success that he did last week. In fact, he probably gets all of Jair Alexander, or actually maybe Kevin King is a better matchup for him, and he's got to stay with him because of the length, allowing Jair Alexander to stay with Tyler Lockett, which is probably a better matchup for both guys altogether. But anyways, I'll stop going on a tangent about my man DK Metcalf, and I want to rewind things back to my last week's video where I had everybody pick 3 different matchups in the comments, with the third one being your conspiracy theory pick. Now, I was actually surprised how open everyone was in the comments, not only with picking conspiracy theory version, but some of you really went into depth on explaining why the NFL would want a specific matchup. I don't know if we're becoming more woke as football fans or just accepting the fact that the NFL just sort of blatantly throws bad calls in our face and then just apologizes for them the next day. I mean, even Keenan Allen tweeted about it before the playoff game started. Now, wildcard weekend was relatively controversy-free in my opinion. There were a couple of plays that it is your duty as a fan to complain about, but nothing as egregious as the no call in the Rams last year or, you know, the Dez Caudet play. The Packers, they've been getting blessed by refs all year because we needed a snowy Lambeau Field game for the 100th NFL season. It had to happen. If there's going to be a terrible game-deciding call, it's going to be in this game right here. And this game is likely going to come down to the wire because both of these teams love playing in close games. So it's going to be really interesting to see who pulls it out because the Packers are 8-1 in one-score games, while the Seahawks have gone 11-2, including that wild card game against the Eagles last week. So this is 2 teams that know how to close out a game. When it comes down to it, I don't think that this Packers squad is a great team, and I just don't see Matt the Flower LaFleur, a rookie head coach, out-coaching Pete Carroll. Seahawks win 24-21. So that's it for the divisional round. And honestly, even though the Saints are now out of it, messing up my original playoff prediction bracket, we still end up with pretty similar matchups in the conference championship games, or at least games that I had projected happening in the previous video. So I'm not going to waver too much from that. And 49ers fans can continue to call me a 49ers hater. Last year I was a Seahawks hater, so go figure.
If you got an issue with that, come see me. I'm about that. Big trust. Woo woo.
But if the Seahawks and 49ers match up again, I'm picking Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll over Jimmy Garoppolo and a guy who blew a 28-3 lead in the Super Bowl. I love Kyle Shanahan. I wish he was my favorite team's head coach, but at the same time, you've got to show me. Otherwise, I'm going to go off of your track record. And Russell Wilson, when the game is on the line, is the man. Jimmy Garoppolo, he gets flustered when talking to Aaron Andrews in a post-game interview. So there you have it. In the NFC, my representative in the Super Bowl would be the Seattle Seahawks. And then honestly, if I'm going to sway or I feel like I'm leaning against my previous ideas and opinions on the way that I see the playoffs playing out, it would be in the AFC Championship game, where the more that I thought about it, the more that I do see the Chiefs being able to pull this one out and being the ones to take down the Ravens. I think that this Chiefs-Ravens matchup could end up being the rivalry of the next decade, like the Colts and Patriots of the last decade. I'm actually really excited for it because it's 2 of the new faces of the NFL and they're not your traditional quarterbacks. As of right now, I'm still going to go with the Ravens, even though my mind tells me that the MVP never wins the Super Bowl for reasons unknown. Maybe you guys can tell me in the comments why the MVPs never win the Super Bowl. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense, but there's something about that streak that has me hesitant on thinking that the Ravens actually win it all. But my eyes tell me that they are the clear-cut best team in the league this year. And I'll be honest, I don't think that the Ravens would win this matchup with the Seahawks, even though they also beat them earlier in the season. I think that they kind of caught the Seahawks off guard because the Ravens were not quite the Ravens that we know now at that point, and they were only 4-2 coming into Seattle. So there you have it. I'm going out on a ledge, jumping back on my Seahawks bandwagon, and no, I'm not a Seahawks fan. If the Seahawks were matched up in this game against the Chiefs, I'd probably go with the Chiefs. But I'm sorry, 49ers fans. I've seen this story play out, these quick rises from a struggling, injured, or battered team to then the #1 overall seed doesn't always end with a Super Bowl victory. It's not because I'm a 49ers hater. I'm pretty sure I still have my old childhood 49ers jersey somewhere because they had a player with the same last name as me, and I thought that was cool as a kid, and I didn't realize that there was a rivalry between the Cowboys and 49ers back in the day. I was 5 years old when we were winning Super Bowls. Maybe if the 49ers are able to go and add themselves a DK Metcalf, or at least just a more dynamic passing attack, I'll be able to pick the 49ers next year. But honestly, it's the quarterback that holds me back from truly believing in this 49ers team. The defense is awesome. Nick Bosa was the other player that I did a scouting report on this previous offseason, and I've actually really enjoyed Richard Sherman as an NFL character since his days with the Seahawks, since his interview with Aaron Andrews. Now that's a guy with a killer instinct, and he was not a giddy schoolboy when Aaron Andrews approached him for a post-game interview. But like I said, maybe this is the year that Jimmy Garoppolo makes a name for himself in this league and turns everybody, including myself, into a believer. But as of right now, the order in which I believe teams have the best chance to win the Super Bowl would go Ravens at #1, Chiefs at #2, Seahawks at #3, and the 49ers at #4. This week, instead of giving the 3 predictions for the Super Bowl matchup, I want a list of 4 teams, and I want them to be your favorite 4 teams to win the Super Bowl in order from greatest chance to win to least chance to win. Now I realize there's 6 teams left, so that's going to require you to eliminate 2 of those teams that you think are going to lose this weekend. Basically, give me your top 4 power rankings at this point. This will be the first time I probably have ever cared about power rankings because the Patriots are finally not included in them. That's going to do it for me though. Thank you guys so much for watching, liking, commenting, subscribing. Don't forget our goal is 500 likes in the first 24 hours of this video. Please help a brother out. Please enjoy some football this weekend. Stay safe if it snows around your area, and I will see you all in the next video.